From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Hey, how y'all are? Cajun Rob here hanging out with you. We got a great guest tonight. Actually, it's kind of one of the guys that kind of inspired me and a great influence on me, Mr. Gabe Montgomery. You know him as 10 Horse Monty. But anyway, we're going to kind of just get into it. Mr. John's kind of under the weather, so y'all be in prayer for him. He's had a kind of a tough day, but I check on my old buddy every day, and he's doing okay. He's getting better. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Gabe Montgomery. How's it going, Gabe?
Man, it is going good. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk a little fishing. There's a lot of like sickness going on right now. I know in our local area, there's been several schools that have been closed. You know, they gotta close the whole school down because so many people are calling in sick. So I hope your buddy, you know, heals up as soon as possible. Godspeed to that. It's never fun being under the weather.
No, not. I know RSV and the was it norovirus. There's a couple wicked ones going around, and I think half my people at work's coughing and hacking. And I get nervous. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I mean we've had a lot of snow and ice around here in the last couple of weeks, and you know my kids have been out of school they're back in now, but there was a period where they missed about 6 or 7 days in a row, and you know, one side of me was like, oh, that's a bummer. I like to see them, you know, in school and busy and socializing and staying on top of things. But the other side of me was like, that's less stuff that they're going to be bringing home to me. Because I remember when they were young, going to daycare and preschool and kindergarten, it's like they bring home all of the stuff, like these concoctions. And there's a lot of sickness in the house, you know, just from all the stuff that they bring. Our immune system was really strong there for several years because we were getting introduced to all these different concoctions of things that they bring home from school. So
absolutely.
It's that time of year.
Oh yeah. I used to work in a school system in Knoxville for like 5 years. And the first year I worked, I got every bug every time. I mean, I was constantly sick. And then second year is a little better. Third year is better. Fourth and fifth year, I never got sick. It didn't like bother me. So you do build up immunity.
You got immune system of steel by that time.
Oh, absolutely. Well, real quick, we got our first comment here. My old buddy Daniel. He says, Daniel says, "What's up, Rob and Gabe? One of my favorite content creators." So I know he's talking about you. Daniel's a good guy. He's always tuning in. So we appreciate you, Daniel. But talking about snow, my mom and dad live in South Mississippi, probably 20, 30 miles north of the coast, and they had like 4 to 6 inches. My little brother's in Louisiana. He had the same. He got snowed in. But just crazy, man. And kids around here has been out for like 2 weeks. They're just now going back. So we had a lot of ice, but it's finally melted off. It's funny. It's like South Mississippi, Louisiana had more snow than I did up here for a while. So
I know. Can you imagine people go down to the coast to spend the winter, or that's a common vacation, maybe that your family will go in there for a week, and you go down there and you're greeted by like 8 or 10 inches of snow. It's like nobody expects that to happen, but you just, you know, you never know. Things change all the time, and you got to be prepared for everything. But it was cool to see the snow on the beach. You know,
the snowmen on the beach. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think those people down there, they're like, yeah, it's fun, you know. Well, as long as it's not every year and all the time, it's something to talk about. You know, you remember the time when we had 8 inches of snow down here in Pensacola, Florida. Oh yeah, I remember that. It's a good talking piece, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I think when I was a kid down in South Mississippi, I think it snowed enough to cover the ground one time. I thought that was the greatest thing ever. And I think I did it one more time. I went down and visit with mom and dad, and it was just kind of sprinkling snow. And I pulled up this quick stop. These 2 girls from the quick stop was out like jumping and dancing in the snow, just barely flaking, you know. I thought it was funny. But.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to – I mean, snow – I work outside. So to me, snow is pretty, but I don't care for it to linger for a long time. But there is some kind of energy that it releases. When you do get a snow, it's like it kind of brings the kid out of you, especially if you – as a kid, you had snow in your area and you got to go sledding and build snowmans and stuff. It kind of brings out the, I don't know, it's a different energy, and change is good sometimes, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We all resist change, but it can be fun. There's something to find in everything that's inconvenient. You can look at the positive and find something out of it. So I like snow for a little while, but I wouldn't want to live like up north, like in Minnesota and Wisconsin and stuff where there's snow on the ground from like October all the way to April. That'd be too much for me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And another thing of snow, I noticed it like makes everything quiet. I don't know if it cushions, but it seems like everything's just much quieter. I don't know.
And fishing in snow is kind of cool. I mean, I've done that several times. It's just a different experience.
Oh, absolutely. I know. I think I went to see George Cochran one time, was doing a seminar, and he said, if it's snowing, throw a black Texas rig worm, and never forget that. So I hadn't had a chance really to use that yet, but I keep it back in my mind. That stuck with me.
Yeah, there's been, some of these. So for people that are on here don't know, I live in actually live in Missouri, but I'm right on the Mississippi River in Illinois. Southern Illinois is right on the other side. But on my channel, most of my content is from Southern Illinois. But I also fish like Lake of the Ozarks, and those highland reservoirs, Table Rock, Lake of the Ozarks. It's notorious for a good topwater bite if you get a little bit of snow, like late fall, like November into December. If you ever have one of those first couple of cold fronts that comes through and it's snowing, throwing a black buzzbait or a whopper popper can be phenomenal. You're looking around, it's cold, it's snowing, and you're like, why am I throwing a top water? But that can be like the best thing to throw when that water's still in the 50s. But a lot of big tournaments have been won on top water in the late fall, early winter on Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh yeah, well I know there's been some big bass come off Cumberland. Lake Cumberland is my closest big lake, and I know some guys that's done real well, like whopper plopper, just down in the 50s and 40s even. And one of my bosses went fishing, and he done real good on popper, and it was like in the 40s. That just blew my mind.
Yeah, you got to look there. Around here, we have a lot of grass, so I'll extend that frog bite all the way until early December. As long as that water is 48 to 49, you can still get a frog bite. It may not be the best bite. You may have to transition over to like a chatterbait or something, but there's still, if you've got good mats, there'll still be some fish sitting up in those mats that are kind of just holding out. Especially if you get a little bit of sunshine and warms those mats up, they'll sit up under those mats and warm up. And I've caught plenty of fish on a frog when the water temp's like 48, 49.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Got a quick comment from Daniel. He's got a question for you. It says, ask Gabe about winning a new boat in the BFL and how it felt.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I fished the LBL division of the BFL as a co-angler last year, and I've done that multiple years. So I'm also going to be fishing in the LBL again this year in some of the Ozarks, and I'm going to jump into some of the Toyotas as well. But last year I qualified for the regionals on Pickwick, and everybody fishes 2 days, and the top 12 get to fish 3 days, and the top 6 qualify for the BFL All-American, which has always been a dream of mine. It's pretty hard to get there. You start out with in the BFLs, there's about 10,000 co-anglers and 10,000 boaters. It narrows down to the regionals. There's 6 regionals, and out of those 6 regionals, they take 6 boaters and 6 non-boaters. So there's I think there's like 50 people. There's some people that come in from other angles. There's but in the BFL All-American, there's about approximately 50 boaters and 50 co-anglers that qualify for that tournament. So it starts out like at 10,000 and narrows down to 50. So it's pretty hard to get into. So that's always been kind of a dream of mine. And I qualified for the regional at Pickwick, and it was the first part of October. And I've had mixed results on Pickwick. I fished a few of the Toyota owners tournaments down there with my buddy Mike Marfell, and we've not really done all that great. The Tennessee River in the fall is notorious for a tough bite most of the time. Kentucky Lake can be really tough in the fall, and Pickwick, Gunnersville, it just depends on where you're at. But Pickwick especially can be really tough in the fall. And so I was going into that tournament, with an open mind. I was excited, but my main goal is just the chance to make day 3. Because
absolutely,
if you make day 3, you're still in the hunt, and that was my goal. So day 1 of the tournament, I drew a really, really cool guy, Cole Davis. He was from, I believe he's from Georgia, and we had a great time in the tournament. I ended up catching, I think I had 10 pounds. I want to say like 10 pounds, 13 ounces, somewhere around 10 pounds. I caught, I actually got to Cole once. I had 5 keepers and I actually caught 6 keepers. So I was sitting in like 5th place.
Wow.
Day one I come in. There's about 160, co-anglers in that tournament. So I'm in 5th place. I'm like, wow. I really didn't expect to be here, but you never know. I fished hard and things went my way. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. And go out the next day. And it was a little bit tougher day. I drew a guy named Hunter Sells. He was, he fished the National Professional Fishing League, the NPFL. Really good.
Yeah, he's a coach at Carson Newman. Yeah, I know him.
That's him. Yeah, really good dude, man. Really good dude.
Great dude.
Yeah. The day started off excellent. Right before we took off, he sat down in the boat and we had a prayer. We said a prayer, which I'm a big fan of saying a prayer before you take off. It just kind of calms your nerves and everything is going to be good. So that's how the day started off. But he was scoping, and anybody that's been behind a good scoper, it's a tough day in the back of the boat.
Yeah, it is.
But he was able, he was cool about giving me he gave me a little bit of time where we were flipping cypress trees. And I felt like that was going to be my opportunity to catch a fish. And I got a shaky head that I throw all out that I've done really good on the last several years in the BFLs. And, we flipped a couple different cypress trees, nothing. We ran down to another island, flipped some stuff, ran down to another island. And I felt like, my opportunity was kind of getting away from me.
Yeah.
So he let me kind of set up on this cypress tree, and I drifted it down. They'll sit with the cypress tree. It's in the current, so there's knees on a cypress tree. So a lot of times those fish will sit on the down current side of those knees, and as stuff drifts by, it's minimal effort. They just come up and grab it. It's a current break, and on any river system, a current break is a key place to fish. You got to look for those stuff, and the more you do it, the more you're able to read the current breaks and the eddies and things. But this is going to be a long story, but I'm almost there.
No, you good, man. You good. Keep going, man. You good.
So I flipped my little shaky head, up current. And another thing you got to compensate for is the drift rate. If a fish is sitting here and the current's moving at such and such mile an hour, and you flip up here and your bait drifts over the top, you've lost that opportunity to bite. So at the same time, if it's snaggy, if you're way up here, your chances of getting it hung up and stuff, or, it can get hung up before it actually gets to the drift, to the fish. So you kind of there's a little bit of math involved and a little bit of feel. Well, my first flip, I kind of went too close to where I thought the fish might be in the base of that tree. And it kind of drifted over. And my second chance, I drifted it right into where I thought that fish would be. And sure enough, I felt the tick and my line bowed up. My rod bowed up, and I had like right out of 4-pounder. So I'm feeling good, but coming off of 10 pounds the first day, I really felt like I needed 6 pounds to advance to that second day. So I still was like, man, I don't think I got enough. And that was the only fish I put in the boat. So we run back to the marina at the end of the day, and it was a tough day for him too. The fish just weren't biting as well, but I get back to the marina and weigh in, and I'm in 5th place again. So the bite just got tougher.
Yeah.
So going into day 3, the 5th place boater fishes with the 5th place co-angler, first, second goes on down the line. There's 12 people that make the day 3. And this is where, things happen for a reason. I'm not exactly sure what that reason is, but things have to line out perfectly to get a win. You always hear about, crazy fish catches, people that got fish in the boat that shouldn't have got fish in the boat, or when it's your time to win, it's your time to win. You can't do anything wrong. There's a lot of truth to that.
Absolutely.
In a scoping tournament, which is what we were experiencing on Pickwick, some of the best live scopers in the country were fishing that tournament. You got Mateo was in there, Jake Lawrence. There's several other guys that are just really, really good at that. And that's how they were catching their fish.
Right.
One of the only guys that wasn't doing that was the guy that I got to fish with that day. If I would have caught, and here's another kicker, I tied I tied with another guy, my buddy Barry Gunner. I think I had 13-3 and he had 13-3. So we both tied, but I had caught a bigger bag on day one. So instead of me being in sixth place, I was fifth place. Technically, we were both tied for fifth.
Yeah.
He got bumped to sixth because I had a bigger bag. So
right.
if I would have got bumped, if I would have got bumped to sixth, I would have been fishing with the guy that was in sixth place. If I would have caught one more ounce more, or I don't know what the guy in fourth place was, but if I would have caught a little bit more than that guy ahead of me, I would have been fishing with somebody different. So I had to catch the exact amount of weight to fish with the guy that I was fishing. And that was the guy that was, his name is Trent Surratt. He's a hammer down on that area, but he was fishing right below the dam. You know, it was at the exact opposite end of the lake. So we ran all the way up to the dam when we were fishing below the dam, but he wasn't scoping. We were just fishing current breaks. And he'd been catching them really good. He'd been weighing in like 22 to 24 pounds of smallmouth up there. And
wow,
that's what it was taking. It was taking like 26 pounds to lead the tournament. But long story short, I felt really good about that. And I had several people say, you got a really good chance of doing good. And still in my mind, I'm just stoked to make day three.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't think I would be in the position to make day three. So I'm just kind of like happy. I'm sitting in fifth place. Going into day three, they take the top 6 to the All-American. So I have a legitimate chance of making the All-American and fulfilling a dream of mine, something I didn't think I'd ever, be in that position. I mean, I've been in decent positions in regionals before, but never something has happened like on day 2. And, I got, bumped down too far and I didn't make that day 3. So I'm in day 3, fifth place. I'm feeling pretty good. I've got a really good boater draw. I just feel like I needed 6 pounds. I felt like if I can get 6 pounds, I'm going to slide into that top 6 and make the All-American. So we make that run all the way up to the dam. It's a long run and it's super foggy. I mean, we had to stop a couple different times just because it was hairy. You couldn't see any. You could barely see the front of the boat. And luckily I was with Trent, which he's very comfortable with running that body of water, but it's still scary. So we finally made our way up to the dam and started fishing. I got video of all this too. So if somebody's bored one night and they want to pull up the video on my channel, you can see how all this went down. It's pretty cool, especially that day, that final day. You get to see a lot of the boat run and where we were fishing at. But
awesome.
So I catch before day 3, I knew what I was going to be doing because I talked to him, and I didn't have anything heavy to fish in current. I had some half-ounce stuff, but I needed some like 3/4 and 1 ounce stuff. So I went to a gas station, bought some big swim baits and some big heavy jig head stuff that I could fish in the current. So I had everything tied on. I was ready to go. And my first fish that I catch that's actually a largemouth, you're catching all kinds of drum. I mean, your line is tight all the time. It's phenomenal fishing. You're not catching the species that you're targeting, but you are getting your line tight with like hybrid stripers and drum and buffalo. Just about every cast you're getting a bite. So it's pretty fun fishing actually. But the first bass that I actually caught, I thought it was another drum because you're getting so many bites that you can't net each other's fish because you won't get a chance to fish. You just be netting other people's fish. So we kind of talked about, hey, if you think it's a bass, let me know and I'll get the net. But you still can't really tell until you see it. Yeah, well, I thought I had another drum, right? And all of a sudden, this big largemouth jumps up, and I'm like, it's a largemouth. Gets the net. It's a 6+ pound largemouth.
Oh man!
Yeah, my first fish that I got in the boat, and so I'm thinking right then, this is probably my All-American fish.
That's your ticket.
Yeah, I was thinking 6 pounds in my head, and I'm thinking this is at least 5 pounds. He's telling me it's 6. And I don't like the big eye stuff. I kind of downplay it a little bit. So in my head, I'm confident it's at least a 5 pounder. So I know I'm right there. A little bit later, I catch a 3 3/4 pound smallmouth. And at that time, I know I made the All-American,
Yeah, no doubt.
So I hadn't really thought about winning the tournament. And I was talking to Trent. I kind of laid off a little bit because I think he had one small keeper in the boat, and I was, my mission was accomplished.
Absolutely.
The goal was to make the All-American, and I knew at that point that I'd made it. And then he got to talking a little bit more, and he's like, the co-angler that wins this tournament, they get a brand new boat. And I'm like, really? And I should have known that. I just kind of overlooked it,
You're too busy thinking of everything else.
Yeah, he goes, you get a brand new boat. And I'm like, well, I better start fishing again. And so I kind of refocused, and I ended up catching another 3+ pound smallmouth, and I had a pretty good bag, and we made that run back down. And I'm standing in line in the weigh-in line, and you line up. They bring the first place co-angler sits in the hot seat, and so sitting up there in the hot seat, but you line up from 12th, 11th, 10th, all the way to first.
Yep.
You're sitting there they have the tanks where you hold your fish in your bag, and they've got oxygen, but everybody's kind of standing around the weigh-in tanks, and you can kind of see what everybody's got in their bag.
Yeah.
And a couple of people asked me what do you have any fish? I'm like, yeah, I got 3. Are they good? I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good fish. And people were like, dang, dude, that's a good bag. And I'm looking around, and there's not really any other good bags. There's a lot of onesie twosies, and I'm not seeing any hammer sacks or anything. And the guy that's leading it, he had like 18 pounds, and I had 13.3. So I need right at 6 pounds to take over the lead. He's walking up the hill when I was bagging up my fish, and he doesn't have a bag. So he's zeroed. So I'm looking at the guys ahead of me. One of the guys has just a small keeper, and another guy I think doesn't have any. So long story short, I get up there, I'll walk across the stage, and I'm up there to weigh in, and the MC or the tournament director, Mike, says,
yep,
you need 5 pounds, 10 ounces to take over the lead.
Oh man.
You think you got 5 pounds? And I'm like,
one fish.
Yeah. So I weighed in, and I had 14 pounds, 1 ounce. I had 14
wow.
and 3 fish. So I took over the lead by 9 pounds, and I'm thinking, I'm number 5. Well, I know number 1 doesn't have any. I think number 3 doesn't have any. And the other 2 that I saw behind me, they just got like 1 fish. I know they don't have 9 pounds,
right,
or anything close to that. So I'm thinking, in the back of my head, I'm thinking I might have just won this freaking tournament. I still didn't let myself believe that.
Yeah.
But it's just from what I'd seen, I didn't really see how anybody could pass me. But long story short, that's what happened. I ended up winning the tournament by 9 pounds exactly. So
wow.
That first fish that I had, the guy that was in first place, I was like 5 something behind him. That's the guy that finished in second. So that very first largemouth that I caught the day would have actually won me that tournament. Yeah. So that's what happened. So I won by winning that tournament. I got a brand new Phoenix 819 Pro, which is valued. It's actually a certificate for a $50,000 bass boat. And I just picked that boat out, the color schemes and all that, not too long ago, and it's supposed to be in the end of March. I ordered it from ACS Marine down there at Kentucky Lake. It was one of the closest dealers that I had, and I spent a lot of time down on Kentucky Lake. But it's kind of a Cinderella story. I mean, I just never saw it coming, never expected it. I was just going in there to fish hard and have a good time and hopefully qualify for the All-American. So I qualified for the All-American, and I got a boat too. So yeah, life is good. 2024 was a good year for me as far as fishing is concerned. But that's the story in a nutshell.
Man, that's unreal, man. That's what, and you don't realize it till you start seeing the bags, above you. And you're like, man, I may have a shot at this. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you never know how things are going to shake out. Like I said, I felt like 6 pounds would have got me in the All-American.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that 6 pounds would have won the whole thing.
Yeah,
which is that's all it would have taken for me to win. So, as a co-angler, it's just fishing hard, and there will be an opportunity sometime during the day for you to get a bite. Even on a tough day, there's usually a little window that will open up, and if you're focused and keeping your bait wet, you're gonna get that chance to have a bite. Or if you're pouting on the back deck because things aren't going exactly as you want, and it's 1 o'clock and you haven't had a bite, that you may miss that window. So my whole motto inside is to try to stay positive and fish hard and keep your line wet, because you never know when that opportunity is going to present itself, and you want to be prepared when it does.
Oh yeah, and like me, I get to 1 or 2 o'clock and I don't keepers. I'm like, just give me one fish and get on the weigh-in scale and get some points. You know how it is. You get to 1 or 2, you get the keepers. Like, just give me one so I get on the weigh-in stage, make points.
Yeah, because at the back of the boat, one fish is huge. I mean, if you catch one fish, if you just catch one fish in every tournament of the BFL, you're going to qualify for the regional.
Oh yeah, I had some old guys that's been there since the Red Man. And they told me when I started out, if you catch one fish every tournament, you'll be in regional easily. And I've proved it. I've been there and done it. So it's amazing.
See William on there. What's up, William? Good to see you on there.
Yeah, there you go. I got Daniel. It says, Daniel says to see the video is great, but to hear it from Gabe himself is very cool.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. Yep. It said William Hiller. Gabe is good with details within the story. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And Chance, I think I pronounced that right. Hi, William. Thanks for having the stream tonight. All right, thanks.
That's Curtis.
Oh, Curtis. Okay. Yeah, I know Curtis. Yep. Awesome. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I always, kind of try to figure how be on weigh-in stage and win a boat. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I've been blown away.
Yeah, and you think the thing that got me, the only thing really, I don't want to say it's negative, but the thing that I would have done differently when I was on the weigh-in stage was give a shout out to my wife and kids. On the way back, you got a 50-mile run, and you're thinking that everybody's coming across the weigh-in stage on day 3, so you're going to have an opportunity just to talk, and you kind of thinking as you're riding back. It's a long straight run, so you got plenty of time to think. I'm just kind of thinking about, I hope the fish stay alive. You're kind of doing the math in your head. You're like, well, if this guy caught this, then I should finish at least in the top 5. You're kind of second guessing yourself. Do I really have enough to make the All-American? You're going through all that in your head, and then you're like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say when I'm walking across the stage? Because I do this a lot. I'm talking in front of a camera. I'm doing live streams every week, so I'm fairly comfortable with this format. But it's different when you're up on a stage and there's live people. You're seeing a lot of faces. So I've always had a little bit of stage fright, and I think public speaking is probably one of the things that people fear the most. If you just took a poll of a general census of Americans, what's the top 10 things that make you kind of queasy, and public speaking would probably be one of them. So I was just thinking about what I was going to say, and I had this speech kind of worked out in my head. You want to thank your boaters, you want to thank your sponsors and stuff. And, I definitely want to give a shout out to my wife and my kids for allowing me the time to do all this. And I did all the other stuff, but I forgot to give a shout out to my wife. And so after the tournament, I called my wife, because I have like 4.5 hour drive home.
Right.
And I'm like, can you believe I want a new boat? And she's just kind of silent. And I'm like, well, aren't you happy for me? She goes, well, I would have been more happy for you if you would have thanked your wife and your kids up on stage. And she was just kidding with me,
Oh yeah. She gave you a
dang it. Yeah, I'm like, crap, I forgot to do that. I said, honestly, I was thinking about it the whole way back. But I just forgot about it when I was on stage. So, that's the thing. If I could take something back, I would definitely give my family a shout out, because man, they pick up a lot of slack for us when we're out there doing what we love, chasing green fish.
Absolutely. Well, your next win, you mention them first. So there you go.
There you go. When I do get in the All-American coming up at the end of May, I'll give them a special shout out. Hopefully.
There you go. That'll make up for everything right there.
That's right.
But yeah, that is one of the most prestigious. I hadn't made it yet, but that's my goal too, man. But hats off to you, man. That was a awesome day just to make it, and then to win it. I mean, to make it. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah,
I appreciate it. It's still kind of every once in a while I'll think about it a little bit, and I've got the certificate is behind me there, the big Happy Gilmore check. It's got the Phoenix on. That's what they give you. I'll look at that one time, and I'm like, well, I actually won a boat. So
you always got to pinch yourself and say, hey, that happened. But going back over your tournament, did you miss any fish, or did you hook up everyone? Did you get everyone to the boat?
I really didn't miss anything that I think would have mattered. The day one was when I caught the most fish. We were around a lot more fish, and I don't think. I mean, honestly, I fished very clean. I fished very clean in that tournament, which is what it takes to win. Everything has to go your way, but I can't think of one fish that would have helped me that I didn't get in the boat. Now I can think of other tournaments, where I lost fish that definitely would have helped me. But for this one, things went pretty smoothly. They really did.
Yeah, because like the very first BFL was in on Del Hollow. I mean, I had like 3 rods. That's all I owned. And I flipped a jig all day, and I was flipping a jig, flipped it out there, and I had a professional overrun on my reel. So I'm sitting there, peeling it off, pick up, and there's a fish. There's like a 3-pounder on there. Hey, light bulb went off. I got dead stick it. Then 3 casts later, it was a little stream, and the current's kind of heavy. I flipped my jig under there, and I dead sticked it, and I felt it. I'm like, oh man, I'm hung up. About the time I felt, head shake, I'm like, uh-oh. And set the hook. And I never forget, I had a young boater, good guy. We still talk today. And he netted my fish. It was a 5.6. And he looked at me with these big eyes. And he said, "You're getting a check today."
That's a good feeling, man. That's a big fish. 5 pounds.
Big one. And it was like 39 degrees, just spitting snow. I had like 3 layers on. I was still freezing. And I got 5th place in big bass that day. And I said, well, I think I can do this. So here, that was 2017. Here I am, 2024, still fishing. But that's pretty good.
It's got cool to get that hardware too. There's something.
Oh, it is. Hardware. It is. I've gotten 3 big bass trophies, and it's always, man, I can't believe that happened, and that happened. So I'm blessed and lucky, my friend, for sure. I got a quick question from Chance here. It says, "What's your favorite cold water technique, Cajun Rob?" That would be flipping a jig. Just a big 1/2 ounce brown jig, usually a green pumpkin super chunk, or a shad wrap. So that's probably my 2 favorites. Occasionally I'll throw a rattle trap or a rig, but that's probably the jig and the shad wrap's my top 2. How about you, Gabe? What's your favorite cold water technique?
Well, I mean, a jerk bait is something I throw quite a bit this time of year when it gets really cold. And to me, like, once that water gets down below, I don't know, like 45, really 42, it really takes away a lot of techniques. It really narrows it down. When that water's still in the high 40s, there's days when you can still catch them on a bladed jig, and you can still catch them on a spinnerbait if things are right. But once it gets down there around 42, it really takes most of your techniques away. A rig and a jerk bait are key, a spoon sometimes, a blade bait. And a jig, like you said, Rob, a jig's always, you can almost always catch a fish on a jig if you keep it in your hand long enough. Shaky head is another good one that's underutilized. So I really like shaky head with just a 5-inch worm, 1/8 ounce shaky head, 3/16 ounce shaky head. And of course the jig head minnow. I mean, if you got forward facing sonar, you can always catch them on some sort of a jig head minnow. But I'd say if I had to have one bait, it's probably going to be a jerk bait. I've been throwing a Bill Lewis, the scope stick, and that 100 size the last 6 months, 7 months, and it's became my go-to jerk bait. I've caught a lot of fish on it, and Phantom Purple is a color that's worked out really well for me. And Pro Blue has always been, I mean, whatever jerk bait you fish, Pro Blue is always a good color, and some sort of translucent purple with a white belly is hard to beat, but it's all about the water conditions and the whether it's windy and cloud cover, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, a jerk bait is a long way of saying a jerk bait.
Absolutely, man. And especially if your boater's kind of going fast, that would really go well. Got a quick question here for Chance. He says, "My man, shad wrap 5 or 7? 5 all day, brother. 2 colors, old crawfish, I got some old shad wraps. It's kind of faded. That faded crawl is awesome, and kind of the shad. 2 colors, the only 2 colors I got, man.
Yeah.
Grind it up.
Yep. I don't think you can go wrong with 5 or 7, but I think you get more bites on that 5 for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you typically, are you fishing them straight out of the package, or are you putting some suspend strips and kind of slowing them down? What's your way of
Nine times out of 10, I just fish it out of the package.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes if I'm fishing deeper water, I'll put a little suspend, or I'll put some bigger hooks on it. I like putting a bigger hook on the back and kind of weight it down. But I'll do a little bit, but 9 times out of 10, straight out of package.
I fished with a guy on Kentucky Lake. It was probably, I don't know, like 2017, 2018. And he had 2 shad wraps tied on spinning rods. I think they were size, I think one was maybe 5 and one was size 7 or whatever. But he'd order them 50 at a time. He'd order like 50 chartreuse and then 50 crawfish. And he would take them, put them on a drill press, drill a small hole in the belly, and put a BB. He knew the exact size BB or split shot, maybe like a size 7 split shot. He'd drop it in there, and then he'd put some epoxy on there, and it would make that shad wrap almost suspend. It might float up just a little bit, and anytime that thing hit a rock, it just barely float up like that, and that was what he threw the whole tournament. He ended up, I think he ended up top 10 and just on that shad wrap, but he'd call Cabela's, and they'd say this is back when a lot of people still called in, and you get the Bass Pro catalog or the Cabela's catalog, and you'd either dog ear everything or circle it or whatever, but you'd write the SKU number down, make a phone call, the operator would ask you, how can I help you? And I'd like to order 50 of this number and then 50 of that number. And the lady kind of paused. He told me this story, and she's like, how many? He goes, I need 50 of this and 50 of that. 50? And he goes, yeah, 50. She's like, I'm sorry, nobody orders, 50 of one lure and then 50 of the same lure, but in a different color. But that's what he'd do. He'd take an afternoon and he'd drill them all out, weight them properly, and that lasted him all winter long.
Wow, man, you can't beat that. And another quick, what I like doing on shad wrap, especially shad, I'll fish it like a jerk bait. I'll kind of jerk it around like a jerk bait.
Yep. But, that Fritz side, Fritz side 5 has become a really good cold water bait as well.
Oh, absolutely.
A little bit easier to cast than a shad wrap.
Absolutely. And talking about jerk baits, I got one of those Jackal re-ranges, and I like it. It's got some crazy. It's more for warm water. It's got like crazy action, but when you throw it, it's got like a little magnet, and it clicks. And you think you snap your line or snap your rod because it just snap. And it's like you check your rod, check your line, make sure everything's there. But it's a good one.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yep.
Yep. And Chance got a quick comment. Said, I love throwing that 5 on my BFS setup, trying to get Gabe to join the dark side.
Yeah, he's trying to get me into that BFS stuff. And I see the fun of it. I do love finesse fishing, but I do the same thing with spinning rod. I've just always thrown that lighter stuff on the spinning rod. And I think I'll probably stick to the spinning rod, Curtis. It's worked for me. I think it's a little more versatile, in my opinion. Yeah. You get that free fall when you can keep your bell open. It's hard to get a free fall with a bait caster. It's just you can't hardly get enough line off of it fast. But if you make that cast with a spinning rod and you keep your bell open, it's just gonna fall straight down. But man, to each his own. I mean, if somebody stole all my spinning rods and gave me the BFS setups, I'd be perfectly happy with them for sure.
But it's interesting because I was talking to some of my buddies at work, and I kind of predict in the future all the FFS guys are going to go BFS. They've got 2 new kind of braids for FFS. I think it's Berkeley, Ford, and Suffolk's got one, but it's like a sinking braid, and it's like 4-pound test of 17, I think. But that's going to be, I think, the new FFS setup in this year, maybe going into next year. It's going to be BFS and that Berkeley Ford braid or Suffolk's braid. It sinks and it's real smooth because you can cast it just so much further. And it seems like the FFS guys are having to cast further and further to get fish. So I think, Chance, you hit on something. I think that's going to be the future in FFS.
He might be ahead of the curve. Yeah, I was throwing. They've had sinking braid out for at least 7 or 8, 9 years. When I can't remember what brand it was that came out with some sinking braid, but I bought a spool of it and I used it for my drop shot to keep the bow out of my line, but on a spinning rod.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I think it come out of Japan at first. It might have been I can't remember, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, I think, and I can't remember how many strands it is, but it's supposed to be really, really smooth, and it's got colors. I think like a gray and a bright yellow. It's got like 3 or 4 different colors, but I think that's going to be the hot thing going forward. And of course, the Mooch Minnow, we can't keep it in stock. It's hot right now. I mean, if you ask me what the hottest lure is right now, Mooch Minnow by far and above anything else. It's just can't keep in stock.
Yeah, it's interesting how stuff just gets really, really hot. That freeloader was the same way there for a while. It was really hard to find at Academy around here.
Yeah.
It's in stock now, but there was several months there where you couldn't hardly find that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's just about there now. It's slowly kind of getting stocked up, but it's still red hot. And a lot of guys, a lot of guys are using it on the back of a chatterbait now.
Yeah, yeah, that JDM stuff's like that too, like that Sakamoto shad. There's times when you couldn't find that, and it just takes a couple good videos, a couple good tournament finishes, and some good advertising and promotion, and things just blow up. It's hard to keep in stock.
Yeah, it blows up. It's funny. I was at the Knoxville show, ECSC Fishing Expo, and I went by Real Deal, which is Michael Neal's tackle shop down in Chickamauga, and he has some of those new chompers. Slick Johnson, that head he promotes, and I got a pack, and I'm pretty impressed. I mean, it's got a long bait keeper on it. The hook, the line tie is kind of behind the head. Is a 60-degree behind the head, which I thought was kind of interesting. So,
is that by Queen's Tackle or not?
No, Chompers. It's by Chompers.
Chompers. Okay.
Yeah. But
what's that for? I mean, is that for on the bottom, or is that like a minnow head?
Yes, minnow head. But that line tie behind the head is supposed to make it wiggle more or something. I don't know, but I'm gonna give it a try and see.
Yeah, because I know Queen Tackle came out with one like that too.
Yeah, roll it. Yeah, the stroller or whatever. Yeah.
Same concept.
Yeah, definitely.
I've had them in my cart. I haven't pulled the trigger on them, but I'm curious to see what you think about it. I don't know. I've actually talked to a couple people on our live stream about that, and everybody I talked to hadn't tried it yet. But I don't know. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, getting that minnow to do that's a big deal.
Oh yeah, there's some unique designs. I mean, it makes that minnow, side to side, and pretty cool.
Is the Mooch minnow the one that's got the bill on it, or is that that's that Jackal?
Yeah, the Jackal.
Something fry.
Flash. My mind's old, man. It's Flash something or
yeah.
Something. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's the one with the lip on it.
Yep. They're coming out with some pretty innovative stuff.
Yep. And your boy Chance, he's patting himself on the back. He says, "I'm ahead of my time."
He might be, man. He might be a trendsetter.
Yeah, he might. I give him credit there. He might. It's So it's definitely getting hot. All the Shimano, all the big guys are coming out with BFS reels and rods. So you might have a point there, man. I'm not going to disagree with you there. But hey, real quick, I know a lot of co-anglers ask this. I probably asked you that. I get it a lot. If you're fishing behind somebody that's forward-facing sonar, what kind of some of the techniques that's worked? Mine is the scrounger head, the pulse fish scrounger head. I've had a smallmouth come up from like 40 foot, come straight up and get it. That scrounger head works really good. Of course, jerk bait. If he's doing a minnow, do a jerk bait. And then Alabama rig. I've had some like finesse Alabama rig, Umbrella Junior, Flash Mob Junior. I've done pretty good on that. Well, what's kind of your go-to if you're behind a forward-facing guy? Kind of what do you like throwing?
Well, it kind of depends on the water depth. So I'd have to answer with just a couple different scenarios. One that's most recent is fishing bars and stuff on the Tennessee River, specifically like Kentucky Lake or Pickwick. And I've been in the boat multiple times with somebody that's scoping shallow stumps. And what I've done and had some success doing is throwing a Carolina rig, just a little bit heavier Carolina rig, 3/4 ounce Carolina rig, and dragging it around really slow. You're probably not going to get a lot of bites, which most of the time you're not going to get a lot of bites fishing in that same scenario. It doesn't matter what you throw, but I've something that I'm able to throw out and it gets down quick. And if the guy's moving kind of fast, you can free spool that Carolina rig.
Yeah.
Wait till he stops, and then, kind of work it back and keep it on the bottom for quite a while. So that's one scenario. But another scenario would be fishing like a highland reservoir, such as Table Rock or Bull Shoals or Norfolk or Beaver or something like that, or Dale Hollow. You mentioned Dale Hollow. Yep. A lot of times when you're in the back of the boat on Dale Hollow, you're out in the middle of nowhere. That's just the kind of situation that you run into. And I think like a little small, like a Big Bite Baits Pro Swimmer or a little Kitech, like a 2.8, 3.3 something on a 1/4 ounce ball head is a pretty good way. You're blind casting, you're fan casting, but that's a good way to generate some bites. Of course, an A-rig, like you said. And I think in that scenario, the best thing you can do is ask your boater what depth they're seeing the majority of the fish, or even more important, what depth are the shad in. And that'll give you something to focus on, because you're casting out in the middle of the desert. But if he says most of the the shad are at 30 feet and the bass are relating to them, you can focus on counting your bait down. And if you're throwing an A-rig, flip that sucker out, put like 20 feet of line, and just kind of watch and get an ideal of how fast that rig is sinking, and then make your cast and count it down. I mean, it's old school. Like Bill Nance taught this stuff years ago. I mean, maybe that bait, that A-rig is sinking 3 feet per second. You want to be down there 30 feet, count to 10, start slow rolling it. And usually the less line you got, your bait, it doesn't matter what you're throwing, it's gonna have a tendency to rise as it gets closer to the boat. So you're gonna have to slow it down a little bit more. But that'll give you something to focus on, and it'll give you some confidence. It'll make you feel like you're at least fishing in the right depth or the right section of the water column, and not just randomly thrown out in the middle of nowhere. But that's, like a little ball head swim bait and an A-rig when you're fishing out deep, and then a Carolina rig when you're fishing, bars and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was on somebody's podcast one time. Milliken was on there, and I asked him, I said, if you was a co behind a scoper, what'd you do? He said he'd drop a drop shot down about 10 foot, because when the guy brings something in, he's always got followers, So if you got that happening, drop a drop shot down about 10 foot with a little minnow, like you said, a little minnow or a little bait, and just sit there and wait for one to grab it when he swims by. So I thought that was pretty slick.
That's an excellent tip, because I actually did that when I fished at a BFL Table Rock last year, the first tournament of 2024. I'd been pre-fishing with Matt Harriman, and he's an Arkansas guy. He's really, really proficient with the live scope. When he was throwing jig head minnows all the time. Well, I was trying to figure out a different way to catch them without looking at that scope. And that's exactly what he recommended me doing, is taking like a 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce jig head with a little, like a little 3-inch scope shad, or just something really small, whatever it is. And when your boater catches a fish, most of the time you're catching spots, and they're in schools, and he's going to bring that school right towards the boat. Right before you net his fish.
Yep.
Drop your bait down there about 30 feet, close the bell, set it in a good secure place.
Yep.
Net his fish. And a lot of times you're going to catch a fish doing that. And the only keeper I caught in that first tournament was doing that. My boater was fishing a jig. I was all prepared for, a live scope fest, and that's not the way it happened. But I was able. We were just fishing a bank, and we were sitting out in like 30 feet of water, and I wasn't getting bit. He wasn't hardly getting bit, and I just I saw a little blip on the 2D behind the boat, and I just dropped my bait down there and just held it for 30 seconds, and I felt a thump, and I caught like 2.5 pound spot. So it does work.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, that's a good way. Oh, and your boy Chance, he wins the prize of the night, drift fry. Drift fry. That's what it was.
I did say
drift fry. Yep, drift fry. Yep. But a couple comments here real quick. My good buddy James Benold says, Gabe the Hammer, how did you like fishing with my buddy Trent?
Hey, James, good to see you on here. Trent's awesome, man. We had a really good day. Trent was, man, he was a good boat driver, and he was really good to fish with. We got up there below the dam, and, we're kind of drifting through some heavy current, and he said, man, throw wherever you want. throw wherever you want. He wasn't one of those guys that said, make sure you don't throw up past the half of, there's a kind of an unseen, unheard rules, that half of the boat type of thing, which, I don't think anybody enforces that. It's really, you got to get low, but he never said anything like that. He's like, catch wherever you want. He was super cool. He was excited for me. He netted the fish, and he ended up making the All-American too, So,
awesome, man.
Yeah. So we had a great day in that boat. Day 3 was awesome for both of us.
Man, you can't beat that. And then James asked, how did you like heavy jig swim bait below the dam, brother?
Man, I liked it. I learned a lot. From Trent that day. He's got some sneaky techniques that I've been sworn to secrecy on. But I did learn a lot with that. Yeah, but like I said earlier, James, that's, if you want to go catch some fish, like just take a buddy and just get your line tight. Fishing below that dam is just phenomenal. I mean, there were times where, you'd catch a fish or get a bite on every cast for like 30 minutes.
Wow.
They're drum. Most of them are drum or hybrid or stripers, but you're catching like 2 to 10 pound fish. And Trent caught some some 40-pound blue cat too.
Jeez.
So there's everything swimming around down there, and you never know when you're going to hang into like a 5 or 6 pound smallmouth. But as far as fishing, it was just a phenomenal day of catching fish. And if you want to take somebody up there just to get their line tight, man, it's a good time for sure.
Oh, ain't no doubt. And James comments, he says, we do it every day.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Man.
I'm jealous. So you know exactly what I'm talking about, man.
Oh yeah. He's a hammer down there, ain't no doubt. But this last year, do you have any like interesting things happen? Like maybe a boater fell out of the boat, or you had something happen at the boat ramp? What was your most interesting, incident or occurrence at a tournament?
That's a good question. It's funny. I've asked that question to guests on our live stream, but I've never really thought about that. Well, something that comes to mind, and this isn't really last year, but this came up on a live stream. I was talking to, we had Keith Brashears on a couple weeks ago, and he's the founder of War Eagle spinnerbaits. Probably one of the most popular spinnerbait brands in America.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
Keith's partner, his team partner, is a guy named Nicky Parsons, who's from he's an Arkansas guy, and I drew Nicky Parsons in a Toyota series on Lake of the Ozarks a few years back on day 3, and I actually got this on video too. He set the hook. So Nicky's not real quick. He kind of limps around the boat and stuff. He's not real quick on the draw. I mean, he's a hell of a jig fisherman, and he's won a lot of boats, and he's a hammer. But he's been doing it for a while, so he's a little stiff. But so he sets the hook on this. We're fishing jigs, just traditionally fishing jig down the bank. It's cold water, and we're not getting a lot of bites, but we are getting a few bites. But anyway, he sets the hook on this fish, and when he does, his foot kind of goes forward towards the rub rail, and he kicks one of his rods out of the boat.
Oh no!
And at the same time, he kind of slips and kicks a rod over the side of the boat. Well, with my ninja skills and cat reflexes, I kind of pin the rod that I have in my hand. I pin his rod up against the boat.
Yeah.
So that fish that he'd set the hook on, he missed. But now we're in a kind of a conundrum where the water is like 40 degrees. And I've got this rod kind of pinned up against the side of the boat, and he ends up getting down there to it. And I didn't know if it was still pinned up beside the boat or not. I didn't really know what happened. I know I gave it a college effort and stuck it up the side of the boat as best I could. Well, long story short, he ended up getting the rod back in the boat. And
oh wow, good save, man.
It was a good save. And he made some sort of comments. He used a few choice words, but he's like, I'm gonna look like a total goofball in your video, based off what happened. And I said, no, man, it's good. It was fun. So that's one thing that kind of comes to mind that was kind of funny that happened in the boat. That's really all I can think of at the moment, other than like, the fog, like the fog stuff is.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of eerie. If anybody has been in a boat when you running through fog, that's pretty.
Oh yeah. Been there. But yeah, you fish as many tournaments, you're going to have something weird happen. I guess mine was a few years back in Cumberland. I had a young kid, great boater. Great guy. And it rained the night before. I guess he stayed at a hotel and he left his plug out. So I launch him out, park the boat, park the truck, trailer, go down, and we're sitting there, and this bilge is going crazy. He's like, "Oh man, I forgot the plug. I got the plug out." I said, "Hey man, don't worry. Just go up there. Somebody's trailer's pulled in. They'll let you, pull in there and get your plug in." He's like, "No, man, I've done this before." He literally said, "Hang on to my ankles." I'm like, "Huh?" It's 40 degrees. He strips down to his underwear. And I got him by the ankles. He's upside down, scuba diving, putting the plug in. And I'm sitting here, this ain't going to end good today. This ain't going to end good. And he said, "Hey, when I kick my legs, pull me back up." Luckily, he wasn't like 120, 130 pounds. But so he got it in and nothing happened, luckily. But that was kind of weird. He just says, "Grab my ankles." I'm like, "Huh?"
Yeah. Yeah, when a man tells another man to grab his ankles, you never know what's going to happen.
I'm like sitting here going, "What?" Yeah. It's too early in the morning. I'm like, "What?"
He did it. He did it the hard way.
Yeah, that's my story. But great kid, though. We had a good day. So, but I got a quick comment from our buddy James. He says, "Are you fishing the Toyota tournament next week at Pickwick?"
No, James, I'm not. I am not. It's funny. You look at you look at 2025 or whatever year it is. You're looking at the next year and trying to plan out things. And I'm always guilty of, I want to fish every single tournament. Yeah. And then I realize, A, I don't have the money.
Yep.
B, I don't have the vacation time from work.
Exactly. I'm like,
2 days here, 2 days there. Next thing you know, you're out of vacation time. So
yeah, and it's like summer and you got half a year to go and you're out of time. Yeah, I've been there.
And that's exactly how I am every year. I run out of vacation days way too quick. But no, I'm not, James. I'd love to. I mean, if I had the time, I definitely would go down there and jump in that sucker.
Yeah, I'm saying, I'll make my schedule. I'm like, I can't do it. I got to cut down about 4 or 5 of these, and end up with 20 and end up with like 10 or 12.
It's kind of like when you go into your local bait shop. You go to Bait Works or you go to Academy or you go to Bass Pro Shops or whatever it is. You got a cart. You end up kind of putting a bunch of stuff in the cart, and then you come to your senses and you're like, wait a minute, I got to put this back and I might have to put that back and put that back. It's kind of how tournament schedules are. You got them all lined out and then you have to cross a couple of them off. And
you kind of got cherry pick. Oh, I'm good at this lake. I don't like that lake. Throw it behind you. But same way, man. I hear you. I feel you.
Yeah. And hopefully some of them, with my job, I'm a letter carrier for the Postal Service. So I don't get Saturdays off traditionally. I get one Saturday off every 6 weeks.
Right.
Most guys are 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, you get that Saturday, Sunday deal off where I end up working Saturdays. So I have to, the BFLs and stuff are on Saturdays. So I have to take vacation time most of the time. But if I see some tournaments that line up with my day off, those are going to become, choice tournaments because that's less vacation time that I have to take off.
Absolutely.
They'll get a little bit more priority typically. Yeah, I feel you saying. I do that. I do my fair share of that too.
Oh yeah.
You got to work the system a little bit. That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah. Well, you earned it. Hey man, you worked it. You earned it. And hats off, man. I thank you every day for your job, man. You guys do awesome. I mean, you guys bring it, rain, sun, snow, ice. So hats off to you guys.
I appreciate that.
Yep. And got my buddy Diehard Angler says, good evening, everyone.
What's going on?
All right. And then Chris McCarter says, it looks like we hopefully will have good weather on Pickwick next week. I hope so, man. It's about time.
Yeah, I hope that water warms up a little bit. I was talking to Austin from down there at ACS Marine in Paris, Tennessee, and he was fishing. He had a tournament Saturday at Kentucky Lake, but he said the water temperatures in Paris landing were like 37 degrees.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
ouch.
Yeah. I like to see that water warm up there to the mid 40s.
At least
it gets tough when it gets in the 30s. They kind of, I mean, you can still catch them, but you have to work a lot harder for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's maybe a 3, 4, if you're lucky, 5 bites a day if you're lucky.
It can be very tough in the winter. I mean, if I'm ever going to zero or really struggle, it's usually when that water temperature's like in that low 40s or colder. It's just,
Oh, absolutely.
you got really short feeding windows. Those bass in cold water, they don't feed as much. Now they can run your bait down just as fast as in warm water. And that's something we learned with forward facing sonar. I used to think that fish were sluggish when the water is like 40, 41. That's not the case. When they want it, they can take after it and catch it. You can't reel it away from them, but they typically don't eat as much. They don't have to, their metabolism is
real selective. Yeah, real selective.
Yeah, they're real selective. And then there's shorter feeding windows. In the warm water period, they may feed for a couple hours, multiple times a day, but a lot of times in the winter, you might have a little short feeding window in the morning. And then a lot of times I find that like 1 to 3 o'clock or something in the afternoon, another feeding window might open up, but it might only be 30, 45 minute feeding window too. Yeah. So, you don't, not only do you have fish that are just feeding every other day or however often they are feeding, but you also have a short feeding window. So it's tough. I mean, it's tough to get out there and get a lot of bites.
Yep. And your buddy James says we got 9 days of 60 and 80 temps for tournament day. Oh, he said 60 to 70. Sorry, no glasses. Hey, I feel you, James. I feel you. Man, so 60 and 70. That's good.
That sounds good. That's exactly what you guys need.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of rain coming into this. We're supposed to get like, I think 2 to 4 inches of rain tomorrow sometimes. I don't know how far south that's going to be.
Yeah.
I know Bull Shoals is supposed to be getting some rain down there in Arkansas in that area, but there may be some rain entering the system. Who knows?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're supposed to get rain Friday and Saturday. And of course, I'm supposed to go do a help with an open house in West Virginia, and it's going to rain. So
where are you at?
I'm in central Kentucky. I'm south of Lexington, a little town called Berea. So I'm kind of in central Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little bit south of Lexington. So, real quick too, what all tournaments you think you're going to fish this year? You're going to do some, of course, your BFLs. It said, and anything else you're going to fish?
Yeah, well, I'm going to fish all 5 of the BFLs in the LBL division. So I'm about 2 hours away from the north end of Kentucky Lake.
That's not bad.
Then, about 2 hours and 40 minutes from Paris, which covers most of the lake. So that's really the closest division. There's an Illini division too, but man, those Illini lakes are super, super tough. So I'm going to fish all 5 of the LBL division, and then I'm going to fish a couple in the Ozark division.
Yeah.
So probably 1 or 2 at Table Rock, and then 1 at Lake of the Ozarks. I may jump in. There's a couple Toyota Series tournaments that are Lake of the Ozarks, Kentucky Lake. May jump in one of those, just depending on how things lay out. And that's really it. I might fish some Wednesday night jackpots around here locally, but I like to leave plenty of open space to just go fun fish. Like Friday, I'm going to Bull Shoals. My buddy Dale Coven's a guide on Bull Shoals, and I'm heading down there Friday morning. I'm gonna fish Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But I like to be able to have some time to do like little mini trips.
Yeah,
if I want to. So that'll be enough for me. That's
oh yeah, absolutely. With everything else you got going on, hey, I understand, man, and that's what I do. I'll have some charity tournaments here locally, and I'll get with a friend, fish some team tournaments, which is a lot of fun. And sometimes I go with some guys at work. He's got a kind of John boat like you got, and we'll just go out fun fish for today and just have a blast.
Yeah, and I got the All-American is coming up. I think it's May 31st. It's the very end of May. I'll probably take a whole week off to go down there. It's at Lake Hamilton down in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Oh, it's beautiful down there. I've been there for the FLW Cup. Beautiful area. Beautiful area.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a couple charity tournaments down at Lake of the Ozarks in the fall. There's the Warrior William tournament that I fished the last couple of years. It's a charity tournament that supports the Rhett Syndrome Foundation. So those are fun, man. Those charity tournaments. You pay, it's going to a good cause, whether you just stink it up or you do good, it doesn't really matter because everybody's down there for the same reason. And I'm really kind of getting into fishing some of those charity tournaments. I enjoy it. It's a fun time.
That's a good cause. I mean, you have fun. It's a good cause. I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, it's like repeat competitors too.
Yeah.
Or, you fish it the first year, you meet some people, then most of the time those people are there the second year. And each year you just kind of, it's like seeing old friends. You make friends and you might only see them once a year, but you always know that if you fish that tournament, you're going to bump into those folks and kind of touch base and rekindle a friendship. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, I fished Bill Taylor. He always does one for Christmas, like the day before Christmas or the weekend before. I fished it. It was good to see him. I mean, he looks the same. I think he's got a touch of dementia or something, but he's looking good. I mean, you couldn't tell it. He's same old Bill, but and I think he missed big fish by like a quarter of an ounce or something, but he still can fish and still a great guy. And boy, he's got some great stories. He's just super nice guy.
Man, I love guys like that. Like I've talked about Keith Brashear, the former owner of War Eagle, or we've had Gail Julian on the Jewel Bait Company. He's a friend of mine. But those stories, those guys, they've been in the industry for 30, 40 years, and the stories they can tell you. I mean, I can just sit for hours and hours and hours and listen to those guys tell stories. I absolutely love it. Those are my favorite.
Absolutely. And got a Chris McCarter chiming in, says, I really enjoyed my first All-American last year at Cherokee. Man, Cherokee's a tough lake, man. Hats off to you. I always struggle there. Of course, our last BFL we had there last year, they had to cancel it. A guy had a boat incident, and they canceled it. My boater looked at me, says, hey, man, my mother-in-law's home. I don't want to go home. Let's go fishing. You want to go fishing? I said, let's go. Of course, I catch like a 4-pounder on a jig, a 3 on a jig. I was like, the next week I fished another event there, and, same lure, same area, nothing. So
you could have won the tournament. You definitely won practice.
Yeah, I won practice. That was about it. But I had fun. And the guy didn't have to go home to mother-in-law as soon as he had to. So win-win.
He was highly motivated.
Yeah, he was highly motivated. And
I fished Cherokee one time in a regional down there, and you're right. That's a unique lake. And in the fall, I don't know how many feet they dropped that, but
a bunch, like 40, 30, 40. Yeah.
A lot. And you can look up on the bank and see where it's supposed to be. And it's like you said, it's 30 feet down low, and it happens quick over the course of just a month or so. They'll drop it that much. Maybe even a few weeks. And
it's dangerous because Cherokee, you can be right in the middle of channel, go 40 foot to 4 foot just like that. A lot of it's not marked. There'll be some islands of bars that's not marked.
Yeah.
So be careful down there. James Minold says, good luck at the All-American. It is the best tournament I ever fished. A lot of fun.
I appreciate it, James. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to fish it right now.
Yeah, I'll say we'll be watching, man. We'll be cheering you on for sure. And buddy Jared at Die Hard says Bill is a good one for sure. Absolutely, one of the best. And James Minold says Chris is a hammer too. Absolutely. If you make the All-American, you're a hammer. I don't care who you are. And Chris says, I finished 28 for 2 bites. Hey, man, that lake, if you have 1 bite sometimes on that lake, it's good. That lake has zeroed me quite a few times. I hate to admit, but it has. So it can be a tough one for sure.
Yeah, I remember a lot of the areas we were fishing had a lot of like real flat rocks.
Yeah.
Remember that being kind of strange. I hadn't really fished a lot of that kind of stuff. And the guy I was fishing with, he ended up catching a couple keepers on a horny toad, just over that shallow, flat kind of shelf rock type stuff. And those fish were sitting up there in 2, 3, 4 foot of water, and he was catching them on a horny toad. It was strange. I had an opportunity to catch a couple fish. We were around one of the marinas, and if I remember right, there's not a lot of marinas or docks on that lake.
No, just a handful.
Yeah, so we were in one of them, and I was skipping a little small. This is funny. I don't know where I got this idea at, but I was skipping basically like a little Mr. Twister grub.
Yep.
Probably like a 4-inch grub, maybe a 3-inch. It wasn't a really big one. It wasn't like a Zoom, not Old Monster, but the Zoom grub. It was smaller than that. It's probably like a little Kalin's grub or something on a real life. For some reason, I was skipping it up in those boat stalls and just letting it fall, and I was getting bit like that. And I had a really good fish hooked up, and he was pinned on the backside of one of those crossbars. And I was fighting him, and he comes up and jumps about 3 or 4 feet out of the water and just spits my grub out. And that was really the only shot I had at catching a decent fish. But it was, like you said, it was slow. It was just get a bite about every 2 hours. The time we
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is a strange lake, and it's kind of hard to figure out at times. But it does have quite a few smallmouth in it, and it changed. You got to watch. I don't know why they do it, but they've changed the 15-inch minimum smallmouth to 18. And about the time the tournament comes to town, of course, it changes to 18. And I catch a 17, 17 and a half. It's like, oh well.
And they don't grow. They stay. Like, we got a lake around here. It's got a 14, 18 slot, so you can keep in a tournament. You can keep 2 under 14 and 2 over 18.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how many 17 3/4-inch fish are on that lake. And you're like, next year, it's just going to explode. There's going to be so many 18-inchers. And it's like the word gets out and everybody stops growing. They're like, okay, everybody stay where you're at. Nobody grow a 1/4 inch. Or if you do, you're going to get taken back to the marina and wade in. And
Del Hollow's like that. It's got the weirdest slot I ever seen. You only have 2 smallmouth. You have one, I think it's 12-inch. You can have a 12 to 15, I think, and then 1 over 21. It's weird.
Holy
1 over 21 and 1, I think, 15-inch or less. But yeah, it's a weird slot. It's aggravating. It's tons of smallmouth there, but they're all 15 to 18, 19, 20. So, but still fun.
Yeah, they don't do you any good in the tournament, but still.
No, I don't. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, yeah. And throw it back.
Yeah, I mean, that's how this lake is I'm talking about with the slot. You'll catch 16 pounds of fish and not have anything in the live well. Because a good solid chunky 17 3/4-inch fish can weigh 3.5 pounds.
Oh yeah.
So you're sitting there throwing back 3.5 pound fish because they're not over 18 inches. You're like, we just threw back, 15, 16, 17 pounds of fish, and we got nothing.
Yeah, catch football. Yeah, never football. And man, it's like a kick in the teeth.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's fun though, but it can be frustrating.
No, it can be. But yeah, man. But hey, I gotta ask. John's wife, Constance, is a baker, so we always ask this every podcast. It's like a tradition. What is your favorite homemade cookie?
Well, I'm a sucker for cookies. I mean,
I'm too.
Man, sweet tooth runs in my family for sure. Ice cream, cake, I like all that stuff. But my daughter, my daughter loves to bake. She's a really good baker. So she bakes a lot of good cookies. But I'm kind of partial to that white chocolate macadamia nut. Now I won't turn away any cookie, to be honest.
No, I won't either.
Oatmeal raisin, chocolate chips, snickerdoodles, sugar cookies, whatever. I'm gonna try them. But I think, if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to bake some cookies. What do you want?"
Whatever you got.
Yeah, whatever you got. But I think I'd say that white chocolate macadamia nuts, probably my favorite, I'd say. But
yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah, and, it's kind of like somebody asking you what's your favorite song. It's like, well, I can make you a list of like my top 500 favorite songs. I think cookies are probably like that,
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're all good.
Yeah.
And your boy Chance says, I had Gabe pegged for a snickerdoodle guy.
Yeah. Hey, I like snickerdoodles too.
They're not bad. They're not bad.
No, I'll take them all, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But well, man, it's been over an hour. Floor is yours. I want you to discuss who you want to thank or your sponsors. So it's kind of the floor is yours. So if you want to take it for the next 5 or 10 minutes, all yours, my friend.
Yeah, man. First of all, thanks for reaching out to me and letting me talk a little fishing. I've enjoyed it. It's like I said, I was familiar with your tag there, but it's good to actually put a face to the name. And thanks for letting me share my story about the BFL regional. And I'm excited to get that boat. It's supposed to be coming in the March, and that's a whole process in itself. I never realized all that's required in ordering a new boat. I never buy anything new. I'll buy something that's 2 to 5, 6 years old. That's just the way I think it's, to me personally, it's kind of silly unless you're just super, super rich to buy something brand new, and you can buy something that's basically brand new, a couple of years old, and save $1,000. But when you win something, that's your opportunity to get something new. But just ordering a boat, all the things that go into it, like every little thing that you see on the side of a boat is a color option.
Yeah.
So, you got to pick out all these different colors. And anyway, that was a process, but that's been fun. This is probably the only time I'm, ever getting new boat. So I've been pretty stoked to do that. But yeah. And as far as the companies that, I've been fortunate to work with several companies. That's been one of the cool things about having a YouTube channel and creating content. You make a lot of connections, and I've been like Baitworks. I'm wearing the Baitworks hat. That's a company that is down in Springfield. They're a box store. If anybody on here is ever in the Springfield area, Bass Pro Shops is down there. It's super popular, but Baitworks is there as well. They're smaller, of course, but they've got some pretty cool niche stuff. A lot of big glide baits and things that you may not be able to find anywhere else. And I'm just shameless plug. If you shop at Baitworks, the code THM10, I got a code for 10% off. So if you want to get on their website and you find something that you like, they got a really cool bargain cove that's got a lot of deeply discounted stuff. And it's really good stuff. It's not like things that are just in the clearance aisle at Walmart. It's good quality stuff. They got a lot of Yamamoto stuff, but THM10 to get you 10% off. Go check out Baitworks. I'd appreciate that. Cumberland Pro Lures. I've been working with them for 6-7 years. They make my favorite jigs. There's a lot of good jigs out there, but go check them out. They've got their little rump finesse jig is a really good one in cold water. It's something that I throw around a lot when the bite is really tough, regardless of the water temperature. Virtus rods, I've been fishing with them for a while, but the list goes on and on. But what really matters is people that show up and kind of, the people that have been sitting down here tonight, just shooting questions out. And it's cool to see some faces on here that, like James that chimed in here. That's a new one for me, but I enjoy this, man. It's fun. Like it's cool to be on the other side of the camera and the mic, because I'm usually doing the interviews and stuff. And I enjoy the conversation, man. It's I appreciate you taking the time to reach out to me, and it's always fun to talk fishing. And you ever need a guest, reach out, man. I'd love to come and hang out with you again. And everybody can check out the YouTube channel. Like I said, I don't know if I said this earlier, but we do the live streams on Tuesday nights, 8:00. We'll try to stay pretty consistent, but it's similar to what you're doing. We have different guests on and stuff, and I try to drop 2 videos a week. It was Wednesdays and Fridays, but I've kind of transitioned over to like Thursdays and Fridays, and most of my content is geared towards Southern Illinois and Southeast Missouri, but I do have a lot of tournament footage. And as I go out and fish these BFLs, I wear a chest cam and I capture the whole day. So you'll have a recap of some practice days, most likely, and then the actual tournament footage. And that'll be multiple times of the year. So if you see a BFL in the LBL division and you're wondering what happened, there's a chance that I'll have it, on my YouTube channel at some point in time. It may take a couple weeks because you got to go through all that stuff. And the editing process is what keeps a lot of people from continuing to do YouTube channels. So, I've heard this multiple times. Is people start a YouTube channel when they figure out how much time you have to spend on editing. They're like, I don't know if I want to commit that. And it's the most rewarding part, but it also is super, super time consuming. But yeah, that's really it, man. I appreciate it, dude. It's like I said, it's good to meet you, and keep grinding. What are you fishing next year?
I want to do BFLs. I'm going to do the mountain division. I may do a couple in the volunteer, which is kind of in Tennessee, and maybe one or 2 in the music. And I'm going to do some kayaks. I've gotten kind of in a kayak thing, so I'm going to try to do some like USA Bassin. And there's one, I think, a Bassmaster kayak event over in Del Hollow in April. Really looking hard at that one. We'll see what happens. But and likewise, man, if you ever need a guest, you want to talk about co-anglers or even the business side of fishing, man, just hit me up, man.
Sure. Yeah. And good luck with your new job, man. I'm excited for you.
Oh, man, I'm loving it every day, man. I got the biggest tackle shop in the world, like right behind my office. So I can't go wrong.
Yeah. Awesome.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I said, you're one of the people that influenced me to help me and John got together, and you helped me along and influenced me to pursue this, and I've really enjoyed it this year. We've done it about a year now, so but it's been good. Now, let's see. Got one quick question from Chance. He says, any good recommendations for a braid? One I've used I've really liked a lot is the Vicious No Fade. Instead of coloring like every strand or just color just the outside, they color every strand, and I really like it. It's a little, they don't feel as like thread like some of it does. So I recommend try that, a Vicious No Fade braid. Gabe, what do you recommend for a good braid?
Well, I've been a big Power Pro fan for forever, and I started fishing this stuff right here. It's called bass braid. There's a guy over in Southern Illinois on Lake of Egypt. He's a crappie fisherman. He fishes crappie tournaments, and he's one of the braids he carries is called sniping braid, and it's kind of popular in the crappie world. Well, he just started carrying this bass braid, and I kind of started using this about 4, 5, 6 months ago, and I'm really digging this. It's like an 8 strand braid, and the price point is really good on it. So I've transferred a lot of my stuff over to this. I've got like some 60-pound for punching, some 50 for frog, and then like 40 for just top water type stuff. And then that sniping braid that they carry, I got that kind of set up on my spinning rod for, just wacky rig and that kind of stuff. So that's just been something I've been playing around with. But yeah, Brad, honestly, other than that, I don't fish a ton of braid, but with this, we got to have spinning rods as co-anglers, and that's where I definitely have. I'm definitely a braid to fluorocarbon guy on the spinning rod.
Yeah, I mean, it takes out a lot of that line twist and stuff. It's amazing. I didn't convert for a long time, but after I did, it's like, man, it like that braid absorbs a lot of that line twist and twist. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think you get a little bit better hook set too.
Oh yeah,
or no stretch, and kind of like the kayak conversation we were having with the weird hook set. You can get by with a little bit less hook set with that braid. It kind of helps you out.
Oh, absolutely, man, no doubt. But man, hey, I really enjoyed it. I know the audience did, and man, we'll have to do this again sometime. And when you win your next boat, we'll have you on after you win your next boat. How's that?
Okay, man. It might be 10, 20, 30 years, but yeah.
Hey, I'll be around.
Hey, hopefully we're still around fishing in 30 years.
I hope so too. I hope so too. But yeah, I mean, hey, congrats on making All-American. That is a huge honor and a huge accomplishment. We'll definitely be watching you and cheering you on for sure, man. And congrats again on that.
All right. I appreciate it, Rob. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We're going to sign off here in a minute. If you want to, just hang around for a couple minutes afterwards, and we'll kind of chew the fat a little bit. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and liking and subscribing, and we appreciate y'all. And I said, check out, I got it on the bottom banner there. Check out Gabe's YouTube channel at 10 Horse Monty, and check out his lives and some of his podcasts. He always has good stuff. And I like how you mix up. You'll do some stuff kind of like we're doing now, and then you do stuff on the water. So, man, you always keep it fresh, man. I enjoy your content.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. I appreciate that.
All right, man. Well, we're going to sign out, and I hope everybody has a safe week, and go out and wet a line if it's good weather. And we appreciate y'all. See you next Monday.
All right.
Peace out.
All right, everybody.
All right. Thanks.